Gamers, today we're checking out a little video that somehow it randomly got suggested to me, and it's called the slow and painful demise of the StarCraft series. Now, the reason why I wanted to check out this video is it's made by Nerdstalgic Gaming, and it has 660,000 subs. So it's a pretty big channel. But from what I've seen in the comments, it was pretty controversial because there were a lot of opinions disagreeing with this video. So I figured, why not watch it on stream and splash my opinion onto it. Let's go.
Might be one of Blizzard's weirdest series. When the game first came out in 1998, it absolutely rocked the RTS fan community. The game's 2010 sequel was met with similar acclaim and became one of the most popular esports over the decade. But the series' era of superiority is over. StarCraft may very well be dead in the water, and Activision Blizzard has bright green Zerg blood on their hands. When StarCraft first came onto the scene, it was clear that the young Blizzard Entertainment had struck gold once again. After breaking new ground with both Warcraft and Diablo in their respective subgenres, the devs had somehow managed to forge another path through the industry. This time, they were trying their hands at the real-time strategy subgenre, and they were changing it forever. If not one of the best games of all time, 1998 StarCraft is decidedly one of the most influential. While it may not have been as aesthetically pleasing as other RTS titles out at the time, the game would prove itself worthy of high praise the moment it was released.
I don't know about that. I thought Brood War looked really good for its time. Like even back then, like comparing them with, are you saying this game looks better? Total Annihilation, this version of it, and this looks better. I don't know. AOE, like the AOE 1 had clearer, I guess, look. Like you can see exactly where everything is. But I think StarCraft had better graphics.
RTS titles out at the time, the game would prove itself worthy of high praise the moment it was released. StarCraft's use of 3 different races with distinctive looks and playstyles, as well as its genuinely engaging, plot-heavy single-player campaign, were hugely instrumental for RTS games moving forward. The game was well-balanced, well-paced, and just generally a high-quality play experience. By the time the equally as beloved Brood War expansion came out a few months later, StarCraft had become the best-selling PC game of 1998. And unlike most games whose popularity
What were the other games?
The best-selling
Deer Hunter? Myst? Wait, is Deer Hunter the hunting game? Like the old-ass one? I think I played that. Myst? No idea. Titanic? Never played. These two I did. Okay, well, Big Game Hunter. Pretty sure I might have played this. Never played, played.
PC game of 1998. And unlike most games whose popularity tends to wane over time, StarCraft just kept gaining ground. While casual players loved it, the real interest was coming from the esports community. In North America, esports were still very much in their early phases when StarCraft came out. It, along with other games we've talked about on this channel, really helped to jumpstart the movement. But no help was necessary in South Korea, where millions of esports players and fans immediately latched onto the title that had become the gold standard of real-time strategy games. Hundreds of thousands of dollars in prize money was awarded across countless competitions, and over a full decade after the game was released, a cheating scandal was taken so seriously that it resulted in jail time. So yeah, a cheating scandal was taken so seriously that it resulted in jail time. So yeah, StarCraft was, and still is, one of the most notable games ever created, which is why it only makes sense that Blizzard wanted to create a sequel. And in 2010, 2 years after they were bought out by Activision, that is exactly what they did. But before fans could play StarCraft 2, the newly named Activision Blizzard actually had to develop it. And there was one hiccup in the process. Originally announced in 2007, with a still iconic cinematic trailer,
Hell, it's about time.
StarCraft 2 was delayed a full year because the team responsible for its development was being cut up and sent off to work on Blizzard's upcoming MMO instead. Just a little game you've probably never heard of called World of Warcraft. It was a decision that ultimately made StarCraft 2 even better. Those team members who went off to work on WoW came back with more experience and a better handle on things like map editing and class balancing, 2 of the many things the game would be praised for when it came out in 2010. While StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty Two of the many things the game would be praised handle on things like map editing and class balancing.
Map editing? Does he mean the program or the maps? I guess he means the program. Class balancing? I mean, I love StarCraft Wings of Liberty, but that thing was not balanced at all. It was the farthest from balance it was.
Two of the many things the game would be praised for when it came out in 2010. While StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty was missing things like LAN capabilities, it was an all-around improvement on the first game. It looked better, played smoother, featured a longer and better campaign, added in a ton of new features, and sold more than 3 million copies in its first month of release. By the time its excellent second expansion pack came out, StarCraft 2 had made...
Excellent, bro. Heart of the Swarm sucked. It's not... What? Heart of the Swarm is the thing that was wrong with StarCraft 2. It was not excellent at all.
Activision Blizzard a ridiculous amount of money, and the fan base was bigger than ever. Like its predecessor, StarCraft 2 swiftly became an esports staple. The community had grown significantly in the years since StarCraft's 1998 release.
Wait, what?
And the fan base was bigger than ever. Like its predecessor.
Wait, is he saying that in Heart of the Swarm, the fan base was bigger than ever? That's not true, is it? It was way bigger in Wings. Heart of the Swarm release. And after that is when the player count started going down and the viewers as well. Actually, at the end of Wings, the viewers start and the player base started going down because of not Swarm Mode, sorry, Broodlord Infestor mainly. First tournament in HOTS was insane. I don't even remember. 400,000 viewers. I don't even remember that.
StarCraft
wasn't Legacy the peak. I'm pretty sure that. Maybe early HOTS was peak, but I'm pretty sure mid Wings of Liberty, start of Wings of Liberty was way bigger, way bigger than Legacy. Like not even like 3-4 times bigger than that of Legacy the Void.
2 swiftly became an esports staple. The community had grown significantly in the years since StarCraft's 1998 release, so StarCraft 2 actually surpassed the first game in popularity and in prize money in South Korea. And with the help of the newly launched Twitch TV in 2011, StarCraft's sequel was getting recognition from a worldwide audience as well. For all of the early 2010s, StarCraft 2 really did reign supreme, just as the first game had in the late 90s and early 2000s. And Activision Blizzard has their decision to suspend development to thank for it, at least in part. But while the decision to place StarCraft on the back burner worked out in the sequel's favor, a similar decision years later may lead to the death of the franchise. In 2019, a brand new and unannounced StarCraft project was reportedly canceled so the studio could focus on the upcoming Diablo 4 and the highly controversial Overwatch 2. According to a source at Kotaku, the canceled game would have been a first-person shooter, like Battlefield in the StarCraft universe. That description might either sound like blasphemy or the coolest idea ever.
I don't think it was even... It wasn't like a first-person shooter. It was like supposed to be something like... what's that shooter game like? Basically like Battlefield. Like Star Wars something. That game where it has like fucking the robots and whatever they're called. I don't know. I think it was supposed to be something like that. Battlefront, yeah, it's supposed to be like Zerg versus Terran specifically, if I remember the details. So it wasn't supposed to be like a 5-on-5 shooter. It was supposed to be like a huge battleground where you have different classes like Zergling and stuff like that, from my understanding.
Depending on the kind of person you are.
Still,
cool. No matter how you feel about StarCraft trying to move into the FPS genre, we can all agree that canceling the alleged game wouldn't be a good sign for the franchise. Rather than simply delaying the game, as Activision Blizzard did for StarCraft 2, fully canceling it indicates an unwillingness to move forward at all. Whether that unwillingness stops at the game in question or encompasses the entire franchise has yet to be seen. What we do know is that other than an oddly out of...
I mean, also wasn't there 2 times where StarCraft 2 related games were canceled? I am pretty sure there was another one canceled in like 2016. What was it called? Titan? Wasn't there, or am I crazy? Yeah, Ghost was StarCraft. Yeah, there was a game called Titan that had Nova in it. Yeah. So there was 2 games. I'm remembering correctly. You're right. It was called Titan, and it had Nova. And there was even a gameplay, if you actually Google that or YouTube it, I think it's called, just search like Blizzard, Titan, and Nova gameplay. and there was a small video leaked about Titan gameplay, but that game I think was like never officially canceled, but there's gameplay of it. And then they later I think said that it was canceled after all.
Place tweet by Blizzard's president in January of 2022, the company has been officially silent on StarCraft as—
Wait, Titan was the other MMO? Are you sure? Okay, maybe I'm mixing them up. This was long ass time ago. Okay, my bad then.
As a whole, and that doesn't bode well. Let's not forget that this isn't even the first time Blizzard has canceled a StarCraft project. The 2002 announcement of the hyped up StarCraft Ghost was swept under the rug after 4 years of unproductive development hell. And that too, strangely enough, was a shooter, albeit a third-person stealth shooter rather than the alleged FPS from 2019. But the early 2000s were a different time. Blizzard and the StarCraft series were still on top of the world, and continuing the series was basically a foregone conclusion. Nowadays, the future is far less certain. The studio has been making increasingly bad decisions as of late. Killing StarCraft may just be another to add to the pile. Just to be clear, killing the series doesn't mean that nobody is playing StarCraft anymore. The series subreddit is still impressively active, and while it isn't even close to the top esport in the world anymore, StarCraft 2 is still very much alive and well, particularly in other countries. But the future of the series? That's looking pretty dead. Dead as most of the main characters in StarCraft 1. And it should be said that Activision Blizzard isn't purely to blame here. There are several contributing factors to StarCraft's downfall. After the first major South Korean cheating scandal, other controversies cropped up in 2015 and 2016 that worked to delegitimize the StarCraft esports scene. And as the years went by, the RTS subgenre that the series had helped popularize became oversaturated to the point of disinterest. MOBAs like League of Legends and traditional shooters have mostly taken their place in both casual and professional capacities. Obviously, Activision—
How did RTS get oversaturated? With what games? That makes no sense. I mean, I don't know, he keeps saying the game has been, like, killed, but then it says, but it still has the player base. So what does he mean? That the fact that they're not doing any content for it?
Blizzard knows this. While they've been putting a significant amount of resources into esports endeavors, their focus in North America has largely been on Overwatch and Call of Duty. With each passing year, StarCraft 2 gets pushed further to the sidelines and out of the public eye, only reiterating the idea that the company seems intent on killing off the series, or at least the RTS era of the series. The lack of effort or interest on the part of the developers and the reported cancellation of a new installment are just the last in a long line of blows being dealt to StarCraft. But doesn't it hurt that much more when the blows are coming from the company that created the game in the first place? Clearly the StarCraft series is still worthy of the full attention of Activision Blizzard, but it's becoming less and less likely that it will ever see that attention again. It's been 12 years since the second game came out and 7 since the final expansion. And even if we hold out hope for a proper StarCraft 3, can we really expect it to live up to the expectations with the studio's rapidly declining reputation? It's a question that may never get a satisfying answer. But in the meantime, we can look at the positives. Blizzard created something truly special with the first 2 games. Something that permanently changed the gaming landscape for the better. StarCraft and its sequel will be remembered for their positive contribution to the industry and to the lives of generations of gamers. So even if Activision Blizzard really is killing the series and there is no future for StarCraft, we can still enjoy the incredible games of the past. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you—
This guy's making like StarCraft's fucking 2 meters underground. Now listen, like StarCraft had a lot of problems, and it was just like, quote unquote, dying over time, whatever you want to call it. Like it had a great launch, okay? It had a great launch, and then Blizzard had all this attention, all this people. Like StarCraft 2 tournaments had hundreds of thousands of people watching every tournament. Like an online cup for $100 would have like 10,000 viewers. Great attention. And they did nothing with it for fucking years. They did absolutely nothing. If there was co-op in StarCraft 2 on release, the game would have been like you know, way. Let me turn on the AOE4 music. I don't like when it's like super quiet and I'm the only one that's talking. If co-op for StarCraft 2 was released in Wings of Liberty, StarCraft 2 would be a completely different game. More than 50% of the players in StarCraft 2 in Legacy of the Void are playing co-op. Co-op was huge. Co-op was actually the biggest success that StarCraft 2 added into the game. And if that was online from the get-go, StarCraft 2 would have been way more successful these days. There was a lot of problems with their balancing. A lot of people that I know quit because of Brood Lord Infestor era. It was like something that was lasting like 6 to 8 months of just no changes. The game was exactly the same. They were too worried to do any changes because they didn't want to ruin the game or mess up the game. And they were extremely slow with balance. Extremely slow early on. Then there's the issue of, like I said, they just weren't updating the game at all. I personally think they had no fucking clue that StarCraft 2 was about to get that big. I think Blizzard was completely unprepared, completely caught off guard by the success, and they had nothing in place to keep pushing StarCraft. They probably just started working on Heart of the Swarm, and that's it, kind of thing. It had great success as an esport, but Blizzard didn't take advantage of it. And I always compare this to the Overwatch. They even admitted that. Yeah. I mean, it was obvious. Like, it was not set up at all in any way. So, Overwatch is a great example of a game who actually sucked, but was pushed so hard by Activision Blizzard now that the reason why it's any popular is because of the millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars they put into it. If they put same amount of money into StarCraft 2 back in Wings than they did in Overwatch, StarCraft 2 would still have hundreds of thousands of viewers. 100%. But I don't think they were expecting that it's going to get that big, and they just didn't do anything with it. The problem of balancing and changing the game continued into the Heart of the Swarm, where it actually got worse. Because of the Swarm hosts and free units and Ravens with auto turrets. There were just free units everywhere. There was a lot of stalemates at the pro level. We had pro games that were lasting 2-3 hours, which was really bad considering the average game time was like 15 minutes. And Blizzard just didn't do anything. They just did absolutely nothing. Yeah, Justin TV. I don't know if it was made specifically for StarCraft 2, but Twitch TV exists because StarCraft 2 was streamed so much on Justin TV that later Justin TV became Twitch TV. So StarCraft was like by far had way more viewers than any other game. So those were like the main things that Blizzard just didn't do anything. And honestly, Blizzard used to be a company that made video games for the players. They were nerds and they made games for nerds. And that's how you make games. But when Activision bought them out, everything went to shit. Because Activision, what they do is they buy a company, they eat it up from the inside, they fire a bunch of people, and then they try to put the game on like a life support while squeezing as much money from it and moving on to the next thing to ruin. That's Activision. That's what they do. And they did the same with Blizzard games. They made WoW like dog shit game with like monetization. Any game they could put in Blizzard game, monetization and anything to squeeze out microtransactions, they did it. I don't think necessarily that skin selling in StarCraft 2 was a bad idea. But the game, all the games were just made to make money. That's what mattered. And I know for a fact that a lot of the decisions in Blizzard, Activision, were not how do we make a better game. They were like, how do we make money? And can we add something cool in StarCraft that everyone would love? We can. And then the investors said, how much money are we getting out of that? And they say, no money? You're not making that. I don't know if you guys know, but the campaigns in StarCraft 2, the bonus ones, like the Nova covert ops that they made, they were supposed to make more. You know why they didn't make more? Because he didn't make enough money. That's it. That's the only reason. It's simple as that. They made one, it didn't turn into big profit, and they canceled all the other ones. Because, yeah, there were supposed to be more campaigns. And this goes for War Chest. This is the same reason why they canceled War Chest. War Chest did okay, but it didn't make money. So anything in Activision that doesn't make money gets thrown out or gets put into life support and added into the classic games. Now, Microsoft recently bought them out, right? And another reason why StarCraft 2, by the way, had no support from like realistically like 2018 onwards, maybe 19. StarCraft 2 has no updates. Fucking like even patches are pathetic, non-existent. They can't even change the fucking map pool. The reason why StarCraft didn't get many updates is because they had their own games that made money. So Blizzard Activision had games that made money. Phone games made like way more money than all the Blizzard games combined and Call of Duty franchise. Way more money. King's Art made millions and millions and millions more, to the point where it's not even close. If they literally canceled all their games and just went with phone games, they would have still been fine. Microsoft buyout of Blizzard is actually in trouble. It might not go through. I mean, I think it doesn't matter if it goes through or not. Like, because... So, let me continue this. So, Call of Duty makes a lot of money for them. Call of Duty skins. Yeah, King's Art is in Candy Crush. Candy Crush makes way more money than any of these games. Way more, like, makes like God knows how many times more than WoW or Call of Duty. So because they had that, they're just interested in making more money, and they're trying to, basically how gaming companies are these days, they're trying to spend the least amount of money and get the most amount of money. So if StarCraft 2 requires 20 people to create next expansion, or I'm just giving a random number, or make more skins, but it only gives them $1 million profit, that's not worth it. They're making millions and millions of dollars a day with, probably even more, with Candy Crush. So they took all the people from Warcraft, from StarCraft, from Hearthstone, from Heroes of the Storm, and they moved them all, I'm assuming, to mobile games or to just new projects that they're gonna release, aka Diablo 4, sell, and abandon. So that's how they work. It sucks, but there's been multiple acquisitions of Activision of the same thing happening, so this is not a surprise. A lot of people, when this happened, a lot of people called this in advance what's going to happen, and it did happen. You know, they said that they're about to ruin all the games and they're about to just monetize everything, and that's exactly what they did. Anything they could monetize, they did. Hearthstone went from a game where you can, you know, spend some money to get better decks, but you can also free to play, to now it's like, it became, like at one point they were releasing expansion every like 3-4 months that costed you like fucking 500 to 1,000 euros just to get a decent deck going in order to get all the cards, because they just put in so much shit and they kept releasing it and people couldn't keep up. I stopped playing Hearthstone. I played a lot of Hearthstone. I used to be a legend rank. I stopped playing because the amount of expansions that were coming out, I was like, I'm spending way too much money on this shit. And it's the same thing, like Heroes of the Storm. Why did they pull out? Remember that? Heroes of the Storm? They were like, oh yeah, next year we're having, we're extending Heroes of the Storm. It's going to be great tournaments. And then literally 2 weeks later, they send an email to everyone that they're fired and there's no tournaments next year. And it's being put on life support. Why? Because it wasn't making money. That's it. It's as simple as that. The investors only care about the money. They don't give a shit about gameplay. And it's sad. The Microsoft whether they do buy them out or not, I honestly don't know how much it's going to change. Because do I think that Microsoft is going to buy out Activision Blizzard and then be like, we're making StarCraft 3? I mean, it's possible, but if the deal goes through next year, that would mean that StarCraft 3 earliest is going to start development in like a year and a half from now. So that means that the game is not going to be out for like another 5-6 years. Whether do I think Microsoft is going to buy them out and then continue working on StarCraft 2? I don't think so. I don't think so. There's no way. The best way to get hype back for the game or get players back is to re-release the game. That's what Overwatch 2 is trying, right? Overwatch 2, and it's like, Overwatch 2 is basically Overwatch 1 with a big patch. They just called it Overwatch 2 because it sounds better. And this is true, right? Think of it this way. Overwatch 2 released recently. Imagine if they just said, we're releasing a big patch. No one would play it. No streamers would stream it. No one would give a shit. But they say Overwatch 2 is coming, even though it's the same fucking game. Then suddenly more people are trying it out. I mean, also that's true. I think that Microsoft, like, buying them out, realistically, did they buy out everything? Like even King's Art or no? Everything? Okay. I think it's going to be very simple. The mobile games are going to be the money maker. Call of Duty probably going to be money maker. They're going to continue doing those two for sure. I think everything else, the only reason they bought the Blizzard stuff, specifically, not Activision part, and King's Art, is because of IPs. 100%. Because buying Warcraft and StarCraft IP gives you a lot of possibilities to do whatever you want. Diablo as well. And when you have Diablo, StarCraft 2, and Warcraft, you can do a lot of things with those IPs in the future. Even though maybe it's not StarCraft 3, but you can create a shooter game like Battlefield is right now, and it can be really cool. So I don't see why Microsoft else would buy Blizzard part of it. And probably honestly buying Blizzard part of it was dirt cheap compared to the King's Art and Activision part. So yeah. Microsoft is 1000% going to make StarCraft 3 if they buy Activision Blizzard. They say a lot of stuff, guys. They say a lot of stuff. Companies say a lot of stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if the deal goes through. Microsoft says, hey guys, we got Activision Blizzard. It's now ours. StarCraft fans, Diablo fans, Warcraft fans, everyone get ready. Hearthstone. Loved Hearthstone. I played so much Hearthstone. Heroes of the Storm. Oh my god, it's such a great MOBA. You know why? It costs 0 and it creates a crap ton of hype for people. It costs 0. The only thing that the guy has to do is say, man, I love StarCraft. And people are going to think immediately, that's it. StarCraft 3, StarCraft 4, StarCraft 5, StarCraft 6 is coming. Billions of dollars invested. When in reality, the guy just said, I love StarCraft, right? But people obviously are very hopeful because all those Blizzard games are on life support. So obviously anything people hear, they're going to be like, oh my god, they're making StarCraft 3, it's confirmed. See this thing right here? Please save StarCraft, smiley face. A lot of people, I remember when this happened. This was this year. A lot of people said, oh my god, they're going to do StarCraft 3. That's it. He gave a wink, like a smiley face. That means StarCraft 3 is coming. That means he has plans for StarCraft. I kid you not. People were saying stuff like that. Because a guy did a smiley face. And what did that cost him? Nothing. Did he say he's going to make a StarCraft 3? He didn't. He just did a fucking smiley face. And that creates hype. And I remember when this happened, StarCraft community was extremely hyped for this. Because they're like, oh my god, if anyone is going to save StarCraft, it's Microsoft. They might, by the way. They might create StarCraft 3. I honestly don't know too much about Microsoft side of things because I've been in like Blizzard, Activision gaming sphere, and I've only been with Microsoft gaming sphere for like a year and a bit now. So I don't know like too much how they do their business and stuff. They might do StarCraft, but one important thing to note is they are acquiring a lot of different games. And I think investing into RTS games probably not the smartest thing in the current day and age, unless the RTS game gets some kind of you know, change, so to say. I don't think the game devs changed, the market did. I mean, devs have less choice, less options, they have less say in their games, right? It's, again guys, I know this for a fact, this isn't my opinion. Whenever a decision is made in a big company, the first question is, how much money is that going to make? If the answer is none, the idea is passed through. It's not happening. It's passed on, sorry. It's not happening. A lot of big gaming companies do their decision making exactly like this. The people that are owning these companies don't give a fuck about games. They don't give a fuck that you want StarCraft 3. They don't care. That's the thing. That's the sad truth. So, I don't know, like I said, maybe Microsoft is different, but we will see. So far, in AoE 2 and AoE 4, I gotta say, Microsoft, again, and that's the sphere that I know, for the past year and a bit, Microsoft has been extremely supportive. I know that they're doing more tournaments for AoE 2 and AoE 4, and that's great. But whether that means that they're gonna go back and support StarCraft 2 if they acquire them, I don't know. Like it's hard to say, right? Because Microsoft is not only like one person. It's a lot of people working there and making decisions. So yeah. Anyway, if you're watching this on YouTube, I went on a long ass rant there. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think. If you're watching this on Twitch, let's keep going.